Welcome Pisces to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 12th of February. If you recall, last week we had the new moon, but for you the moon was in your 12th house. 12th house moons are when we can need some privacy and space. We can withdraw a little bit, we need to hunker down. Now the moon may have moved on, but this week Mars steps up to replace her. Now Mars, of course, is a very thrusting energy, very masculine, but Mars moving into the 12th house on Tuesday for 6 weeks is not necessarily a walk in the celestial park. Mars in the 12th house can stir up some subterranean energies, particularly to do with past hurts, angers and disappointments. But we may have thought that we've worked those out, but then suddenly we can feel really, really uptight about something historical, or we can feel very emotional. And it can be very polarized about how it affects people. Now, if you've had quite a settled existence so far, Mars won't stir up things in the same way. If you've gone through a lot of life challenges, like many of us have, there is much more capacity or potential for Mars to make things a little unsettled. The other thing is that Mars combining with Pluto suggests that there could be someone around you who may hugely disappoint you. It could happen this week. It could be around a romantic connection. You may find out someone is not as committed, loyal or focused on you. Doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic partner as you would really wish. Unfortunately, the 12th house can be about secret enemies. Obviously, Mars can be about blades, and Pluto can be about what's discreet and not obvious, what's more hidden. So in a metaphorical sense, just watch your back, particularly if you're involved in something where there's a lot of emotion involved, or perhaps even a lot of money, or even around where sex is involved. If you're someone who's going on holiday, really genuinely steer clear of downtown locations in an environment that you don't know well. And even more locally, if you know certain areas that tend to have a higher rate of crime or where there's some edgier stuff going on, just be very protective. But there is a magical link between Neptune and Venus on Valentine's Day itself. If you're lucky enough to have a very deep and invested relationship with someone, perhaps this 12th house energy means you'll just be perfectly happy, cocooning yourselves away, watching your favourite TV programme, maybe with a dinner on your laps. It won't matter what anyone else thinks. That could be absolutely perfect. But the other thing that can happen with all this 12th house energy, augmented by the arrival of Venus applying to Pluto on Friday, is you can be surprised by how much someone from your past starts to stir in your emotions. And it could be someone that you thought was very much someone you don't want in your present or your future. And you could be right. But the 12th house will see you questioning yourself. You could feel hugely sentimental. You could find yourself raging about the injustice that life often afflicts upon us. But by Friday, the quarter moon does reflect the new moon of last week, because that was squared by Uranus in the urgent third house, especially with Uranus, but also your ruler Jupiter was squaring up with Mercury. This week it's the Sun squaring with the Moon. So there could be some information that you get to hear about at the end of this week. Be skeptical about what you're told, especially if someone tells you something where you feel that there may be a little bit of enjoyment in delivering a little bit of information that actually isn't so easy for you to hear. There are people around like this, unfortunately. Not everyone is very spiritually evolved. Unfortunately, some people can be downright malicious and spiteful. We see it a lot, don't we, on social media, you know, the way people really say some very cruel things to people. If you are someone who is a healer, a light worker, a carer, someone who's in this world for good things and to do good things, one of the upside of all these influences is that you may get yourself a new job. And that new job can actually be where your skill as a listener and a nurturer, but also very compassionate, can really be something that someone hugely appreciates. It's also possible that someone has got a massive fascination with you, but is almost too shy to share that openly with you. So do look out, continue to look out for people's body language. Maybe it's you that's got a secret crush on somebody and you're being asked some questions here about how much do you want to reach out, the risk of being rejected. The 12th house is very, very complex. It can be where we can grow enormously within ourselves. You put Mars there, it can become quite unsteady, quite volatile at times. Pluto can sometimes bring things into the open we don't want to look at, but is actually for our greater good, even though we can't see it. But also it can see those opponents. The 12th house in traditional astrology is hidden enemies. So I hope this week turns out to be a good one for you, in the sense that you can use your research, your ability to sense things, your caring nature, your empathy in a really constructive way, and that's something that people appreciate. That you hear from someone who's very delighted to be in touch with you, that you've not heard from for some while, for good reasons, but just be conscious of your motivations if you are drawn back towards a relationship that didn't work, that wasn't good at the time. Have the dynamics between you. It's not whether you've both changed or not, it's whether the chemistry that you created between you can possibly change. Perhaps it can. It's worth trying for sure, but just keep a little bit of a guard. But there could be another part of you that's just perfectly happy just to have some real peace, tranquility, reflection, some nurture, spend time near some water or with some animals, and just breathe and have some quiet. Thank you so much for watching this sun sign forecast. If you'd like to ascend above this and embrace the power of more serious astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place, or date and place, I'll produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far, and a much more intimate understanding of how you can work with those energies to your advantage. Also, within my special package of 30% off, you'll get your 12-month transit forecast, which interacts with your unique natal birth map, totally individual to you. And you can also get 30% off and your free zodiac, Chinese, Indian and love forecast for year 2024. Please see the link below.